The cold wind of the autumn morning swept through the bustling streets of Manhattan, causing vibrant yellow leaves to fall to the ground. Claire stood by the window in her apartment, her eyes fixed on the scene outside, where life seemed to go on as normal. But inside her heart, everything was crumbling. "She won't come, you know," Jake's voice rang out from behind, carrying a hint of sarcasm. "She's just a lawyer, not a savior." Claire turned around, her eyes sparkling with anger. "Jake, this is not the time for jokes. We need to clear everything up before Dad dies." Jake shrugged, his eyes only skimming over her, as if deeper emotions were buried beneath a cold facade. "Do you really think a lawyer can help us figure out what happened? He left a mess, Claire. We won't be able to fix it." Jake's words struck her like a knife to the heart. She knew that after Mr. David's sudden death, everything had changed. They had not only lost a beloved father but also had to face an uncertain future, where family secrets could be exposed. "I can't believe Dad left everything like this," Claire sighed, clenching her fists. "We need to know what he left us." "And what if it's a secret he wanted to hide?" Jake asked, his voice growing more serious. "What if he did something wrong?" That question hung in the air like a time bomb. Claire felt a shiver run down her spine. She didn't want to think about it. But the truth was, her father might not have been the perfect man she once knew. When the doorbell rang, both siblings turned around. Claire tightened her fists, a surge of anxiety rising within her. "That could be Mr. Thompson," she said, trying to keep her voice calm. Jake scoffed. "Or a messenger here to inform us that we've lost." Claire didn't respond. She walked to the door and opened it, revealing a middle-aged man with gray hair and a neatly pressed suit. Mr. Thompson, their father's lawyer, stood there with a serious expression. "Hello, Claire," he said, his voice deep but somewhat heavy. "We need to talk." "About my father's will?" Claire asked, her heart constricting. "Yes. There are a few things that need to be clarified." Jake stood behind her, his gaze not leaving Mr. Thompson. "What do you mean? Did Dad leave us a surprise gift?" Mr. Thompson took a deep breath, as if preparing for a battle. "I'm afraid this is not a gift. This is much more complicated." Claire felt as if everything around her suddenly became hazy. She looked into Mr. Thompson's eyes, searching for some sign that everything would be all right. But what she saw was only seriousness. "He left a special will," Mr. Thompson said, "and there are some conditions you need to know." "What conditions?" Claire asked, her voice shaking. "You will have to face a truth that may change everything." Claire felt as though her heart stopped beating. She knew this was not just about property or money. This was about family. About the secrets that Mr. David had kept hidden for so many years. "We can't let this destroy our family," Claire said, trying to keep her spirits up. "No matter what he did, we are still siblings." "But can we trust each other?" Jake whispered, his eyes shining with anxiety. That question cut deep into the air, leaving a void full of doubt. Claire didn't know the answer. She only knew that they would have to face their father's secrets, and perhaps, those secrets would forever change how they perceived family. As Mr. Thompson stepped into the apartment, Claire felt as if she were standing before a door opening to a completely new world, where anything was possible. She didn't know what awaited them ahead, but one thing was certain. Her father's secrets would not just be a story of inheritance, but also a battle to protect what remains. "We will get through this together," Claire thought silently, even as her heart was filled with confusion and anxiety. She knew the greatest challenge would not be material, but the truth they would have to confront. After Mr. Thompson left the apartment, the atmosphere in the room became heavy. Claire stood in the living room, feeling as if she had just been thrown into a storm. The lawyer's words echoed in her mind. "You will have to face a truth that may change everything." Jake had sat down on the sofa, his hands clenched, his face showing clear anxiety. "What do you think Dad has done?" he asked. His voice calm but filled with tension. "I don't know," Claire replied, trying to keep her tone steady. "But we have to find out. He has hidden something, and we need to know what it is." Jake shook his head. "I don't think that's necessary. Sometimes, secrets are better than the truth." "Jake, we can't live in lies," Claire said, feeling anger rising within her. "If Dad has done something wrong, we need to face it. We can't let these secrets haunt us." Jake looked at her, his eyes full of disappointment. "And what if that truth destroys everything? Do you think it will bring us closer or tear us apart?" Claire felt a pang in her chest. She didn't want to think about that, but Jake's words touched a deep fear within her. "We must get through this together, Jake. If we don't, we will live in darkness forever." She resolved not to let fear control her. The next day, Claire began searching for information about her father. She went to Mr. Thompson's office, where documents and records might reveal something about the legacy that David had left behind. Upon entering the office, Claire felt as if she were stepping into another world. The walls were adorned with family photos, memories she didn't want to touch. Mr. Thompson sat behind his desk, looking at her with a serious expression. "Hello, Claire, I have prepared some documents for you," he said, his tone somewhat cold. "Thank you," Claire said, trying to keep her voice calm. "I need to know everything about my father's will." Mr. Thompson nodded, handing her a thick stack of documents. "This is the will and related documents. But I must warn you. There are some things you might not want to know." She opened the stack, each page like a door leading to secrets she had never considered. Some clauses in the will pained her. David had left a portion of his estate to a charity she had never heard of, along with a strange condition: the heir must complete a task before receiving the property. "Do you know what that task is?" Claire asked, a sense of excitement rising in her. "I don't know the details," Mr. Thompson sighed. "But I have reason to believe it relates to his past. A part he didn't want you to know." Claire felt as if she were on the brink of a gigantic secret. "I need to know more. I won't let this continue to haunt me." Mr. Thompson nodded. But the seriousness in his gaze made her even more anxious. "I advise you to be careful. Sometimes, the best secrets are kept for good reason." Claire left the office with a heavy heart. She couldn't stop thinking about what Mr. Thompson had said. If her father had done something wrong, could she accept it? She couldn't let these secrets ruin her relationship with Jake. When she got home, Claire found Jake sitting on the sofa, still lost in thought. "I found out about the will," she said, trying to keep her voice calm. "And?" Jake asked, his eyes shining with worry. "Dad has left behind a strange condition. We must complete a task before receiving the property," Claire said, a sense of anticipation swelling within her. "What is it?" Jake asked, his voice becoming tense. "I don't know. But I feel it relates to his past," Claire replied, her heart heavy. Jake stood up, pacing the room. "You can't be serious about this. We can't let some task define our lives. Jake, we can't escape the truth. If Dad has done something wrong, we need to know," Claire said, anger rising within her again. Jake stopped, looking at her with disappointment. "And if we don't like what we find? Do you think it won't destroy us?" Claire felt a pang in her chest. She didn't want to think about that. But the truth was they were standing at a significant crossroads in their lives. "We can't let fear control us. If we don't, we will live in darkness forever." She resolved not to let fear dominate her. She would find out about the task her father had left behind. She would not allow her father to live in lies. Then, Claire began searching for information about the charity her father had bequeathed his estate to. She decided to visit the place, hoping to find a clue about the task her father had mentioned. When she arrived, Claire felt a strange sensation. The charity was located in an old building with faded painted walls. She stepped inside, feeling as if she were entering another world. Volunteers were working, but no one paid attention to her. "Hello, I want to learn more about this organization," Claire said to a young woman who was organizing documents. "Hi there. We're glad to welcome you," the woman smiled. "Do you know about your father?" "He left a part of his estate to this organization," Claire said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I want to know what he did here." The woman looked at her with sympathetic eyes. "He helped many people. He was one of the founders. But there are some things we can't share." "Why not?" Claire asked, excitement rising within her. "Because those are secrets he kept," the woman replied, her voice somewhat somber. "We can only say he did many good things." Claire felt as if she were standing before an insurmountable wall. She didn't know what to do next. She had sought the truth, but all she received were secrets. When leaving the charity, Claire felt like she was standing in the midst of a storm. She didn't know what to do next. She would have to face Jake and tell him what she had learned. But would he understand her motives? Would he accept the truth their father had kept hidden? She looked up at the gray sky, feeling as if everything was crumbling around her. Her father's secrets were waiting ahead. And she couldn't hide from them forever. She knew that she would have to face the truth, no matter how painful it might be. "We will get through this together," Claire thought silently. But her heart was filled with anxiety. She didn't know what awaited her, but one thing was certain: her father's secrets would not just be a story about legacy but a fight to protect what was left. Claire stood in front of the mirror, looking at her reflection. Her face looked somewhat tired, her eyes sparkled with anxiety. She had spent many days searching for the truth about her father. And now, she felt as if she was standing at an important crossroads. She knew that Mr. David's secret not only affected her but also the relationship between her and Jake. What will you do if the truth isn't what you expected? Jake's voice echoed in her head, making her feel heavier than ever. She decided that it was time to face the truth. Claire had found an important clue from the documents that Mr. Thompson had given her. An old letter from her father, written in the last days of his life, led her to a secret location, a small house on the outskirts of the city, where her father had lived during his youth. When she arrived, Claire felt a cold wind blowing through. The old house, with its faded paint walls, gave her the feeling that time had stopped here. She stepped inside, her heart pounding in her chest. Everything in the house was quiet. Only the sound of her footsteps echoed in the silent space. She walked through the empty rooms, sensing the breath of the past. The old photos hanging on the walls seemed to gaze at her. Memories of her father, things she had never known. She stopped in front of a large photo of Mr. David, his radiant smile on his face. But behind that smile, she felt something dark. What did he hide? Claire wondered, a thrill of anxiety rising in her heart. She continued deeper inside, searching for any signs of the secret her father had left behind. Finally, she found a door leading to the basement. The old door, with its rotten wooden slats, seemed to keep many secrets. Claire took a deep breath, then opened the door and stepped down. The air below was cold and damp, but she could not turn back. The dark basement, dimly lit by a flashlight she brought, illuminated the moldy walls. She walked along the old bookshelves, dusty books, and boxes filled with papers. The musty smell and dust made her uncomfortable, but she knew she had to search. As she flipped through each page, she found a diary. She opened it, and her father's scrawled writing appeared before her eyes. "I have lived a life full of secrets, and now, I must face difficult decisions. I do not want my children to suffer the consequences of my mistakes." Those words struck her like a knife. She felt pain and disappointment, but also a hint of pity for the father she once cherished. She continued reading and discovered that her father had been involved in a secret organization, a group of people who had committed wrongful acts in order to protect the vulnerable. He did it for noble reasons, but the methods he used were something she could not accept. What has he done? Claire whispered, tears rolling down her cheeks. She felt as if she were standing in the midst of a storm, where everything was collapsing around her. She continued her search in the basement, and finally, she found an old wooden box. She opened it. And inside were photographs, documents, and some cash. The photographs shocked her, pictures of her father with others, people she did not know, but they all had serious expressions. Some photos showed them engaged in shady activities, secret meetings that she could hardly imagine. "Dad, why did you do this?" Claire silently cried, feeling as if everything was collapsing around her. She did not know what to do with what she had found. Should she tell Jake? Would that hurt him? As Claire was lost in thought, she heard footsteps from above. Her heart raced. She knew Jake had arrived. "Claire, where are you?" His voice rang out, full of concern. "Down here," Claire called, trying to keep her voice calm. Jake appeared at the door, his gaze sweeping across the dark room. "What are you doing here?" he asked, his face clearly showing anxiety. I am trying to learn about my father," Claire replied, trying not to show her inner turmoil. "There are some things I need to know." Jake stepped down, his eyes shifting from worry to suspicion. "What is it? Did you find something?" Claire felt a wave of anxiety rise within her. She didn't know what to say. I found some documents. Dad was involved in a secret organization," she said, her voice trembling. "What?" Jake asked, his expression tense. "Which organization?" "I don't know exactly. But he did things that we cannot accept," Claire sighed, feeling like she was at a crossroads. "Are you sure?" "Maybe you misunderstood," Jake countered, his voice full of skepticism. "No, I read his diary. He did wrongful things, but his reasons were to protect the vulnerable," Claire said, trying to hold her ground. "But what he did is inexcusable." Jake looked at her, his eyes sparkling with disappointment. "So what do you intend to do with what you found? Are you going to expose this truth?" "I don't know," Claire sighed, feeling like everything was collapsing. "I don't want to hurt you, but I also cannot live in lies." "But what if that truth destroys us?" Jake asked, his voice growing tense. "Do you think it won't drive us apart?" Claire felt a tightening pain in her chest. "I cannot live in lies," she said, tears streaming down her cheeks. "We need to face the truth, no matter how painful it may be." Jake fell silent, and the air in the room grew heavy. She knew they were standing at a major crossroads, where the truth could destroy everything. "What will you do?" Jake asked, his voice softening. "I don't know," Claire replied, feeling like she was in the middle of a storm. "But I know I cannot avoid it forever." Jake looked at her, disappointment glimmering in his eyes. "If you decide to expose the truth, you have to prepare for the consequences. Not just for you but for both of us." Claire felt like she was facing the hardest decision of her life. She didn't know what to do with what she had found. "I won't let these secrets haunt us," she said firmly. "But I need time to think." Jake nodded, but the silence between them spoke volumes. She knew that their relationship was being tested, and she could no longer avoid it. As Jake left the basement, Claire felt as if she were standing in the midst of a storm. She didn't know what to do next. She would have to face the truth, but did she have the courage to do so? She decided that she would not let fear control her. She would learn about the organization her father had participated in, and if necessary, she would expose the truth. She couldn't let these secrets continue to haunt her and Jake. She returned home, her heart heavy with thoughts. she would have to face what she had found, and perhaps she would have to face her father as well. But one thing was certain, she would not let these secrets dictate her life. When night fell, Claire sat in her room, the weak light illuminating the documents she had discovered. She decided that it was time to take action. She would not let fear control her. She would seek the truth, no matter how painful it would be. "Dad, I won't let these secrets destroy our family," Claire thought silently, determination rising within her. She knew she would face great challenges, but she also knew that the truth would help her find her way. And so, Claire's journey began. She would not only seek the truth about her father, but also the truth about herself. She would not let these secrets dictate her life. She would stand up and face every challenge that life brought her. It was a difficult decision, but she knew it was necessary. She would not let these secrets continue to haunt her. She would stand up and seek the truth. The next day, sunlight streamed through the foliage, creating shimmering patterns on the ground. Claire stood by the window, looking outside with a heavy heart. She had spent the entire night thinking, and now she knew she had to make an important decision. "I won't let these secrets destroy my family," she told herself. She had discovered things her father had kept hidden, but now she understood that the truth was not just what was written on paper. The truth also encompassed the emotions, the choices that each person makes in life. Claire decided she would meet Jake. She needed to tell him about what she had uncovered. Not just about her father's secrets, but also about her own feelings. She knew their relationship was facing a major challenge, and she could not avoid it forever. When Jake walked in, his eyes looked somewhat anxious. "Are you ready?" he asked, his voice gentle but tense. "I have thought a lot," Claire replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "I need to tell you about what I have found out." Jake nodded, sitting down on the sofa. "Where can you start from?" "My father was involved in a secret organization," Claire said, her heart heavy. "He did things I cannot accept, but his reasons were very commendable." "What did he do?" Jake asked, his eyes glimmering with concern. "He helped the underprivileged. But the way he did it was not right. He kept these things secret because he feared that we would not understand," Claire said, tears streaming down her face. "I feel heartbroken that he did not trust us." Jake was silent, his eyes deepening with thought. "So what do you intend to do with what you have discovered?" "I want to forgive," Claire said, her voice resolute. "I cannot live in resentment. I want to understand my father, and I want you to understand too." "Forgive?" Jake repeated, his expression one of surprise. "Are you sure?" "That's a big decision." "I know," Claire sighed, "but I also know that resentment will only make us suffer more." "My father—" Jake looked at her, his eyes glistening with empathy. "If you decide to forgive, you will have to face painful memories. Are you ready?" "I am ready," Claire replied, her heart filled with determination. "I want to free myself from these burdens. I want to live a life not shackled by secrets." Jake nodded, and in that moment, they looked at each other, feeling a strong connection. "Then we will get through this together," he said, his voice warm. "You are not alone in this journey." Claire felt a swell of joy in her heart. She knew they had faced a big challenge together, and their love had grown stronger than ever. "We will visit that charity organization," Claire said, determination in her voice. "I want to learn more about what my father did, and perhaps I will find a way to continue his legacy." Jake nodded, his eyes full of support. "You have grown so much since you started this journey. I am proud of you." They decided to go to the charity organization that Claire's father had been involved with. As they entered, Claire felt a sense of excitement. She did not know who she would meet, but she knew this was the first step to learn about her father's legacy. The young woman Claire had met before appeared, welcoming them with a friendly smile. "Hello. I'm so glad to see you again." Is there something I can help you with? We came to learn more about my father, Claire said, her voice filled with determination. I want to know what he did and why he joined this organization. The woman nodded, her expression becoming serious. He was a wonderful man. He dedicated his whole life to helping others. But there were also difficult decisions he had to face. We want to know about those decisions, Jake said, his voice confident. We need to understand more about the legacy he left behind. The woman led them to a small meeting room, where photographs and documents about the organization's activities were displayed. He helped so many people, but sometimes the way he did it was not accepted by everyone, she explained. He faced many criticisms, but he remained steadfast in his ideals. Claire felt a surge of respect rising in her heart. He did that for good reasons, she said, tears rolling down her cheeks. I understand that he lived in secrets, but I want to continue his legacy. The woman smiled, her eyes full of understanding. If you want, we would be happy to assist you on this journey. He left behind a valuable legacy, and we believe you can continue his work. Claire felt overwhelming joy in her heart. Thank you. I will not let these secrets haunt me anymore. I will find ways to help those in need. As she left the organization, Claire felt as though she had found a part of herself. She had decided not only to forgive her father but also to continue his legacy. She would not let these secrets dictate her life. We have overcome together, Jake said, looking at her with love in his eyes. You have grown so much, and I am proud of you. Thank you, Claire replied, her heart full of gratitude. We will do something good together. As they stepped outside, sunlight streamed through the trees, creating shimmering patterns on the ground. Claire felt as if she had found her path. She would not let these secrets continue to haunt her. She would live a meaningful life and carry on her father's legacy. And in that moment, Claire knew her journey was not just a quest for the truth, but also a journey for love, forgiveness, and growth. She had learned that no matter how tough life's challenges may be, love and forgiveness would always guide her way. Life went on, and Claire knew that she would never be alone in her journey. She had found her inner strength, and now she was ready to face any challenges life might bring. She would live with an open heart and continue her journey with confidence and love. We will get through this together, Claire thought, holding Jake's hand tightly. They walked on, heading toward the light, where the future awaited them. Claire stood by the window, warm sunlight pouring into the room, creating shimmering rays on the wooden floor. She felt like she was living in a dream, where everything was perfectly arranged. But inside, her heart was racing with intense emotions, relief, joy, and also worry. She had decided to forgive her father, a decision that was not easy at all. But now, as she looked out of the frame, she sensed something new filling her soul. Everything seemed clearer. She was no longer bound by secrets, the pains that had haunted her for so long. Life is beautiful, Claire whispered, watching the lush green leaves sway in the wind. Each gentle breeze felt as if it was whispering in her ear, a reminder that life goes on, no matter the hardships we face. She had learned that sometimes forgiveness is not only a gift for others but also a gift for oneself. She recalled the painful moments when she discovered the truth about her father. The tears, the sleepless nights, and the arguments with Jake. But now, everything was different. She had found strength within herself, and that made her feel proud. I have grown up, she reminded herself, a smile blooming on her face. She turned back to look in the mirror, where her image reflected. Her face no longer bore gloom or worry. Instead, her eyes sparkled with confidence and determination. She was ready to face new challenges, not only in life but also in her relationships with family. Family is everything, Claire thought, her heart filled with love. She realized that although her father had made wrong decisions, he had also done beautiful things. He had devoted his entire life to helping others, and that was something she wanted to continue. She decided to organize a family gathering, where everyone could share memories about her father together. She wanted people to understand that, despite her father's secrets, his love for the family always existed. "We will get through this together," she thought, a warm feeling spreading in her heart. As she stepped outside, Claire took a deep breath. Feeling the fresh air, she looked up at the deep blue sky, where the white clouds floated gently. Life is truly beautiful. She felt every beat of her heart, every vibrant moment of life. She walked on, feeling as if she was on a new path, where opportunities and hopes awaited. Every step carried confidence and determination. She would not let secrets and pain dominate her life anymore. "Thank you, Dad," Claire whispered, her heart full of gratitude. She knew he had lived a meaningful life, and now she would continue that legacy. She would live with love and forgiveness, not only for her father but also for herself. As the evening sun began to set, Claire felt a sense of peace spreading in her heart. She had found her path, and now she was ready to step into the future with an open heart. "I will live a life unbound by the past," she thought, a radiant smile on her lips. And so, Claire moved forward, not only on a journey of seeking truth but also on a journey of seeking love and growth. She had learned that in life, the most important thing is not what happened, but how we choose to face it. She would never be alone, for love and forgiveness would always guide her.